Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Noah here breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, November the 11th. We got a 6-game NBA slate today on Monday. This is looking like a pretty nice slate. We got some very high total games on this slate, especially one that really stands out. Right now, this Rockets-Pelicans game has a 242.5 total with a 4-point spread. So there's going to be a lot of fantasy goodness in that game. We will definitely be talking about a lot of players in that game as we go throughout the video. Obviously, Harden, Westbrook are going to be two that really stands out. The Pelicans are without Lonzo Ball, so I think that's going to open up a lot of usage for other guys that we will also talk about in this video. We will work our way through each position. I'll hit on some guys that I like at each position, just looking at this slate the night before. And then as we go, we will build out a core of 5 players. These are 5 players that I do see the night before that I like specifically for DraftKings pricing, and then we'll do 5 for Yahoo as well. But before we do get started, guys, there's a couple things I want to hit on before we start with the video. So first off, please drop a like down below. I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would drop a like. Likes and comments help my video do better in the algorithm, I should say. The YouTube algorithm, they help me reach more people. So if you guys could drop a like, feel free to leave a comment down below. Whether you want to leave some of your thoughts on today's slate, how your NFL weekend went, if you want to leave that down in the comments, feel free to do so as well. If you have any feedback's always greatly appreciated. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at DFS by Noah. And one more thing, if you are planning to play the Monday Night Football Showdown slate tonight on DraftKings, I do have a video already up for the Monday Night Football Showdown slate. If you want to check that video out, as always, would be greatly appreciated. But let's go ahead and start in point guard today, and then we'll work our way through. So at the top, we got 2 guys over 10K at this position, Luka Doncic and James Harden. I think easily James Harden is one of the top studs on the slate. 11,500 in a matchup against the Pelicans. Just looking at the game log for Harden, just 3 straight games of over 73 DraftKings points. We know Harden is going to play huge minutes in close games. Even in blowouts, you're still getting 30-plus minutes from James Harden. And like I talked about at the beginning of the video, this game between the Pelicans and the Rockets has a 242.5 total with a 4-point spread. Makes a lot of sense. You got 2 of the fastest-paced teams in the league. Right now, the Rockets lead the league in pace, just ahead of the Timberwolves, where the Pelicans are 4th in pace. So these are 2 top 5 teams in pace. If we look at defensive rating as well, these are 2 of the worst defensive teams in the league. The Pelicans, bottom 2 in the league, just behind the Warriors, or just ahead of the Warriors, I should say. And then you got the Rockets at 23rd. So these are 2 fast-paced teams, two pretty bad defensive teams, which is going to set up very well for fantasy. I think Harden's one of the top studs on the slate. I'm not going to include him in my core because there are some other guys I like for a bit cheaper. But if there's enough value that opens up and I can get like Harden, some of the guys we'll talk about later on in the video, this is definitely going to be like a stars and scrubs slate for me just because there's so many studs at the top that I really like. Obviously, James Harden is one of them. Luka Doncic at 10,400, even though he's been playing very well lately, I don't think Luka's going to be a core play for me today. It's just hard for me to play him at 10-4 in a road matchup against the Celtics. Celtics are still pretty solid defensively, even without guys like Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. Those guys can still really defend well. I don't think Luka's going to just go out here and just really, really struggle, but I don't see him putting up a ceiling game on the road against the Celtics. You're more likely going to get a ceiling game from guys like Harden, Towns, Kawhi, who's still going to be playing without Paul George. You got Russell Westbrook for really cheap. It's not really interested in Doncic. Kind of the same with Kemba Walker. I don't have much interest in Kemba. I would much rather play Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's one guy that really stands out to me on DraftKings, just given his price of $8,800. He's been pretty poor these last 3 games, just 25, 40, and 36 DraftKings points. His minutes haven't been as high as I would like. Some of that has been due to blowout. He hasn't been playing like the 36 to 38 minutes that Harden has been playing, even though they won that game against the Bulls by 23 points. You still did get 32 minutes from Westbrook. Shot 50% from the field, just the peripherals weren't there. Only 7 rebounds and 2 assists. Westbrook's going to get a lot of his peripherals when he's playing without Harden. So whenever Harden comes off the floor and you get Westbrook in there playing with the second unit, that's when Westbrook's going to do his damage. In a fast-paced game, that sets up really well for him. So I do like Russell Westbrook quite a bit today at 8,800. And if there isn't enough value to get like Harden and 2 of the other studs I really like on this slate, I'm totally fine dropping down to Russell Westbrook as my 3rd stud because, I mean, those almost $3,000 in savings are going to be pretty nice. I think Westbrook gives you a ton of upside in this game against the Pelicans. So obviously I really like him. For what it's worth, I mean, Drew Holiday is a very solid defender. It's very likely that Drew Holiday is on Harden in this game, which maybe that sets up well for Westbrook. Harden is matchup proof. I don't really care who's guarding him. he can still put up numbers, but maybe we'll see Westbrook be a little bit more aggressive in this game. But the guy that I really want to talk about at this position is Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday is probably one of my favorite plays on the slate. On DraftKings, he's only 7,400. Point guard, shooting guard eligible. On Yahoo, he's at the shooting guard position, and he's $31 over there. So I do want to pull up the Pelicans' usage so far this season. We'll look at it with and without Lonzo Ball on the floor. So if I can find the Pelicans here. We do know that Lonzo is going to be out for this game, and we saw how things went last game with Lonzo out. The Pelicans did run a pretty different starting lineup than what they had been running. They moved Jrue Holiday to point guard. They started J.J. Redick at the 2, and then they started Kendrick Williams at the 3, Brandon Ingram at the 4, or maybe vice versa. It might have been Ingram at the 3 and Williams at the 4, and then Derek Favors got the start over Jahlil Okafor. I think it's very likely we see that same starting lineup today where you have Jrue Holiday playing point guard. Just looking at his numbers so far this season with Lonzo off, they don't look that great, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that whenever Lonzo comes off the floor, either one of Frank Jackson or NAW are coming on the floor, whereas here we're going to get Jrue Holiday starting at point guard with those guys on the bench. So I expect Jrue Holiday to be very productive when he's on the floor. He did have a very good game last game starting at point guard. It was a pretty good matchup against the Hornets. Played 36 minutes, had 40 DraftKings points, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists. The shot volume was still there for Jrue. The assists are going to be up when you take Lonzo off the floor. Drew's going to be the primary ball handler, and his price on DraftKings actually dropped to $7,400. This is a great spot for Jrue Holiday. I think he's one of the top plays on the slate. Definitely a guy I'm going to be targeting on both sites today. Lonzo being out just helps him so much, and he's not priced like Lonzo's out, especially for a game that's going to be played as fast as this game should be. So other point guards you have, it's hard for me to go to guys like Donovan Mitchell, Lou Williams, Fred VanVleet. I talked about Fred VanVleet in Sunday's video. His price is still $6,900. It was $6,900 on Sunday. I do expect him to be a very productive player now that Kyle Lowry is out. But I just love Jrue Holiday today, so Jrue Holiday is probably going to be the guy that I really go to in that mid-range. Deonte Murray's price has finally gotten down a little bit to $6K. He's still on a minutes restriction, though. He did play 26 minutes against OKC, which is the most we've seen him play so far this season. 24 minutes against Boston in his last game, he kind of struggled. I mean, if you're going to get 26 minutes from Deonte Murray, even at 6K, I think he's a guy you could play, especially in a pace-up spot against Memphis. We obviously don't know if that's going to be how many minutes he plays, though. I mean, we have no idea what Pop is going to do. Pop could limit him to 24. Pop could play him 32 minutes, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised with either one. Eventually, there's going to be a game where Deonte Murray just plays like 32 minutes and goes for 50 fantasy points, and nobody plays him. I mean, it could happen soon. It seems like he's slowly starting to see his minutes increase with him getting 26 in that game against OKC. But let's talk about some of the value here since we pretty much touched on all the mid-tier plays. So just looking like 5K and below, I think with Lonzo out, that should benefit Josh Hart. He should see plenty of minutes off the bench. He did play the most minutes out of any bench player last game. 23 minutes off the bench, 26 DraftKings points. He was pretty productive. At 5,100, I don't think he's a core play by any means, but if I was making multiple lineups, I would definitely have some exposure to Josh Hart. But for cheap value, there's not really much that I like here. Like, I thought guys like Frank Jackson and NAW would benefit with Lonzo out, but it seems like Drew's going to be the main beneficiary. Guys like Jackson and NAW are probably only going to play about 15, 20 minutes off the bench. So even at a really cheap price tags for both guys, I think it's going to be pretty hard for me to go to them today. So let's go ahead and talk about some shooting guard plays. So we're going to touch on some guys I haven't talked about. Andrew Wiggins, 7,700. This guy coming off a very big game last game against the Warriors, or on Friday night he had a monster game against the Warriors in that overtime game, and then against Denver on Sunday he had 41 DraftKings points in 40 minutes. We're going to see Wiggins play a lot of point guard whenever Jeff Teague is out. We do not know yet if Jeff Teague's going to be out. He is questionable, I imagine. I mean, he sat out on Sunday. It's a back-to-back. I'm recording this on Sunday night. So if Jeff Teague is out, I think Wiggins firmly in play at 7,700, but definitely not a core play by any means. Fred VanVleet, I forgot to talk about VanVleet on Yahoo. So going back over to Yahoo, if you look at VanVleet, he's still only $23 at shooting guard. I liked him a lot on Sunday, and I'm definitely going to be going right back to him on Yahoo at this same price of $23. The price is just way too cheap for VanVleet. Looking at his numbers with Kyle Lowry off the floor, his assists go way up. He's the primary ball handler when Lowry's off the floor. He should be like $30+ on Yahoo. So at 23 over there, I'm definitely going to be taking advantage of that price. $6,900 on DraftKings is a much more reasonable price, and I don't think he's as much of a core play over on DraftKings. But now talking about some of the other shooting guard plays, we'll try and look for some value here. Jarrett Culver's 4,800. If Jeff Teague's out again today, he could for sure be in play as a cheap value on Yahoo. I know he's really cheap at small forward. He's still only $14, so he'd probably be a top value over on Yahoo. A pretty good value on DraftKings as well. Josh Okogie's been playing very well off the bench. I imagine he'll continue to see pretty solid minutes if Teague is out, so he's another guy you could target at 4,700. But I want to talk about Norman Powell. I was on Norman Powell on Sunday's slate. I liked him a lot, getting the start in place of Kyle Lowry. Seems like that's going to be the way they're going to go while Lowry is out, so I really like Powell again today. He's still very cheap on DraftKings at 4,200. He's the minimum salary on Yahoo as well, so he's going to be a top value play for me on Monday. I'm recording this video on Sunday night. As I'm recording it, I believe that Raptors-Lakers game is at halftime. I think Powell has like 16 DraftKings points at halftime. Not exactly sure, but I know it's somewhere close to that. He's going to play probably over 30 minutes a night. We know the Raptors are going to run their starters into the ground. That's what they've been doing all season. So we can project Powell to play a ton of minutes. He's going to be a lot more productive now that he's in the starting lineup. He's just going to have more opportunity when he's in the starting lineup. And taking Lowry off the floor, that's a pretty ball-dominant guy that does take a lot of shots. We'll see Norman Powell soak up some of those shots at 4,200. I mean, really like Norman Powell at this price tag. I think he is another solid value play we can target on this slate. But that's probably it for shooting guard values for the guys I see below 5K. I guess if you want to take a shot on Eric Gordon, I wouldn't mind it here in a very fast-paced game. I mean, Gordon's probably going to play close to 30 minutes just about every night. He does play very well in fast-paced games, games where he can get up a lot of shots. We kind of saw that against Memphis with 26 DraftKings points and 32 minutes. He's only 3,900 on DraftKings. He's definitely a fine value play if you want to consider him. But let's go ahead and talk about some small forwards now. So at the top here, we got Kawhi for 9,400 in a revenge game at home against his former team, the Raptors. I think Kawhi is definitely a top option at the small forward position. We have already gotten the news that Paul George is not going to play today. Paul George is getting very close to making his debut for the Clippers, but it's not going to be today. So we're going to continue to see Kawhi Leonard do everything for this Clippers team. I want to pull up the Clippers usage real quick, just look at it so far this season. Kawhi Leonard's usage-wise and the fantasy points per minute that he's averaging are pretty crazy just so far this season. So in 216 minutes, 41.1% usage rate for Kawhi Leonard, 1.71 fantasy points per minute he is averaging. I mean, those are crazy numbers. Those are James Harden without Chris Paul kind of numbers, James Harden without Russell Westbrook. So obviously Kawhi is a top option on the slate. I don't know if I can prioritize him over guys like maybe Drew Holliday for $2,000 cheaper. Karl Anthony Towns, I love it, only $10K. Even like James Harden, I might want to try and get up to. But I would probably rank Kawhi as my fourth favorite stud behind Harden, Towns. If you include Holliday in that category, I'd put Holliday in there. But I do like Kawhi quite a bit today. If I can pay up for him, he is definitely a strong option at 9,400. Kawhi has a much higher ceiling now playing with this Clippers team. He was usually a guy that didn't play a lot last season, really only when Kyle Lowry was out, because we never saw Leonard go out there and put up 60, 70-point games. He can easily do that with this Clippers team with how much usage he has, with just how much he's doing for this team, averaging 1.71 fantasy points per minute. The guy's numbers are insane, so you can definitely pay up for Kawhi, but I don't think I'm going to have him as a core play unless we just get a ton of value and I can jam him in with a lot of value plays. But let's talk about some of the other small forward options. Gordon Hayward, we know, is going to be out. I do expect Jason Tatum to be one of the biggest beneficiaries with Gordon Hayward out. He's up to 7,500 on DraftKings, so I don't think he's a smash play by any means, but definitely a guy I would have in my player pool if I was making multiple lineups. For value at small forward, I think it's pretty thin. Just looking at this position the night before, we did see J.J. Redick draw the start and play pretty well last game. 29 minutes against the Hornets, 36 DraftKings points. He was really making his shots in that game. 6 for 13 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3. If Redick's hot, I mean, he's a guy that can go out there and put up 30, 35 DraftKings points. In a very fast-paced game where there's going to be a lot of shot opportunities, I could see using J.J. Redick in tournaments. I don't think he's a cash game play for me. He's usually never a cash game play because he's so scoring dependent, and if he's not scoring, he's not going to do anything else. But obviously, if you're game stacking this game, I would definitely want some exposure to J.J. Redick because if he gets hot, he could put up 35, close to 40 DraftKings points. He'd honestly probably be my favorite value at the small forward position. I'd probably play him over guys like Culver, Okogie, Glenn Robinson. I mean, I definitely like Redick there at 4,700. But I do want to talk about Kenrich Williams. Kenrich Williams is a value play that I really like today, 4,300 on DraftKings. So we did see him draw the start last game against the Hornets, played 28 minutes and had 33 DraftKings points. Because he played so well, I imagine they're going to continue to start Williams, and he's still very cheap on both sides. If we go over to Yahoo, he's at the minimum at the power forward position. He's minimum salary. I believe he's at power forward. If not, he might be at small forward, so never mind about that. But he's still minimum salary. Incredibly cheap over on Yahoo. Definitely going to be a value that I go to over there. So Williams is not going to be a guy that's going to project to see a ton of volume. Playing alongside guys like Drew Holliday, Brandon Ingram, you're not going to see Williams go out there and take 15, 20 shots. But in a fast-paced game, there's going to be a lot of shot opportunities. There's going to be a lot of rebound opportunities. Kenrich Williams is one of those guys that can kind of contribute in all categories. He can score. He can grab boards. He can get some assists as well. He can pick up the defensive stats. If we continue to see him start, then I think we can continue to project him for close to 30 minutes. I just want as much exposure to this Houston-New Orleans game as possible. So really like Kenrich Williams as a value. Him and J.J. Redick both make a lot of sense from the Pelicans as small forward value plays. But I think that's it for this position. Let's go ahead and talk about some power forwards now. So looking at power forwards I haven't mentioned, you got Pascal Siakam at 8,700, who's firmly in play, but I think on this slate I would probably try and get up to Kawhi if possible for 700 more. I just feel like Kawhi gives you a little bit of a safer floor and just as good of a ceiling. I mean, Siakam's shown plenty of ceiling this season. I know he's had some big games, 64 DraftKings points, 50 DK points, 60 DK points, but I feel like Kawhi's most likely going to give you 40 or 45 to 50. You're most likely going to get a 45, 50 point game out of Kawhi than Siakam. Kawhi just gives you a little bit of a safer floor. But obviously both guys are strong plays if you can pay up at the power forward position. Brandon Ingram, 7,800, should benefit with Lonzo out. We kind of saw it last game. He did play very well. 36 minutes, 42 DraftKings points. Ingram's probably going to put up similar numbers to that. With him being 7,800, I think I would take the savings and play a guy like Drew Holliday from the Pelicans for just 400 more. But obviously totally different positions. If a lot of value opens up at the guard position and I can pay up at small forward or power forward, Brandon Ingram is for sure an option I will be looking to. Blake Griffin's going to be making his debut for the Pistons today. I almost said the Tigers. For the Pistons today, he's 7,200 on DraftKings. That's a very interesting price for Blake Griffin if he's not going to be limited. But that is something that we don't know as I'm recording this video. Recording this video on Sunday night. Griffin is expected to play, but we're just not sure if he's going to be full minutes, if they're going to limit him. I imagine he's going to be on a limit, so we're probably not going to be able to go there. But if he's not limited, 7,200 Blake Griffin would definitely make some sense. LaMarcus Aldridge down to 6,300 on DraftKings in a pace-up spot against Memphis. I like a ton. Just coming off a very disappointing game last game against Boston. 26 minutes, 10 DraftKings points. I expect a big bounce-back game from Aldridge. His price dropping to 6,300 on DraftKings makes him very appealing today. We look at the pace stats so far this season. The Grizzlies right now are 6th in pace. So this is a fast-paced team they're facing. I definitely like Aldridge at 6,300 at power forward. But there's a value I want to talk about here. Really, really cheap. I don't know if he's going to be high owned today. I have a feeling he will, but maybe I'm wrong. Derek Favors I like quite a bit. 4,700 on DraftKings. You can target him on Yahoo. He's at center, and he's $15 over here. I have a feeling I'm going to be trying to pay up at center for either like Towns or even someone like Clint Capella or even LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge at $29 at the center position on Yahoo looks very appealing. Even Joe Val if he's going to play 30 minutes. So I don't see myself playing a ton of favors on Yahoo, but on DraftKings where you can play him at power forward, center, forward, utility, you just have so much flexibility. I think he is a really good value today at 4,700. Last game we did see him start over Jahlil Okafor. Favors played 29 minutes in a great matchup against the Hornets, put up 32 DraftKings points. This is a spot where Derek Favors is going to have to play minutes. They're going to need his size against Clint Capella. We know Clint Capella is going to play big minutes every night. I don't see this game going small. I think Capella is going to be out there for his normal 32, 34 minutes that he plays every night. So we're going to see probably Derek Favors match those minutes, if not close to that. I think I can reasonably project him for almost 30 minutes, probably like 28, 29 minutes. Favors is easily a point-per-minute player. He can score, he can get rebounds, he can get the defensive stats. We could easily see him put up a similar line to what he did in that game against the Hornets. And at 4,700 on DraftKings, especially with him having power forward eligibility, I really like him as a value play at this price. I think he is a guy that I'm going to be targeting at this position. But that's probably it for power forward. for value plays. Let's go ahead and quickly go over center before we end the video. So talking about the stud center plays, you do have Towns and Drummond. Towns 10K, Drummond 9,800. I much rather would have Karl-Anthony Towns here, especially with Blake Griffin returning. Andre Drummond's definitely going to take a hit with Griffin returning. And Karl-Anthony Towns isn't taking a hit right now. He's doing everything for this Timberwolves team. I do want to pull up their usage real quick and just look at Karl-Anthony Towns' numbers. So far this season, we can run them with Jeff Teague off the floor, just assuming he's out again today. The numbers do see a pretty big boost with Teague off. So in 94 minutes this season with Jeff Teague off the floor, 27.4% usage rate for Cat, 1.63 fantasy points per minute. If you project him for 34, 36 minutes, which is what he should play, assuming this game is competitive, he probably projects for over 50, 55 DraftKings points. I mean, at 10K, Karl-Anthony Towns is just underpriced. He should not be this cheap. He should be an 11K, close to 12K player almost every night. I'm not really worried about Drummond's defense. Cat's such a just good overall scorer. He can really post up on anyone. He can score on anyone. I love Towns at 10K. I think you can definitely target him on Yahoo as well at $53. He is one of my favorite studs over on Yahoo. I don't think he's like a must-play on Yahoo because you do have Harden for only $4 more. You got Kawhi for $4 less. Westbrook $7 less. Even if you wanted to drop down to Pascal Siakam, he's $13 less. So there's a lot of routes you can take on Yahoo, but I still do like Towns a ton, paying up at the center position. He's for sure going to be one of my top studs today. But now looking at other center plays, just in this mid-range, I mean, Clint Capella, I like a lot in a fast-paced game against the Pelicans. He's playing big minutes right now. He's scoring, he's rebounding, he's doing what you expect him to do. I loved him in that matchup against the Bulls because of how bad the Bulls have been rebounding-wise. Capella played 42 minutes in that game where they won by 23. His minutes are just so insane right now. He's playing 36 to 40 minutes a night. Can easily go for 20 and 20. He's got that kind of upside in him. He can block shots as well. There's going to be plenty of rebound opportunities, plenty of shot opportunities in this game. So Capella at 7,300 is probably one of the more strong mid-range center options if you're going to the mid-range. Talked about LaMarcus Aldridge. I really like him at 6,300. Value-wise, I don't know if there's really any cheap values I would like besides Derek Favors, who you can play here. Enes Kanter would definitely be an interesting play if he's able to go today. He's only played one game so far this season with the Celtics. In that one game, he played 25 minutes and put up 22 DraftKings points. When he's healthy, he's going to be their starting center, and he's probably going to see mid to upper 20s in minutes a night. And we know Kanter is a very productive player, can get you a double-double in 25 minutes. At 4,900 for Kanter would for sure be in play as a value if he is able to go today. Definitely want to keep an eye on that news. And also Chris Boucher, that was someone I talked about in Sunday's video, and as I'm recording this Sunday night, he's having like a pretty solid game. At halftime, he has like 16 DraftKings points. He's played like 13 minutes at halftime. I think we're going to see Boucher pick up a lot of minutes off the bench with Serge Ibaka out. He's pretty much going to be the backup center. We might see him play alongside Marc Gasol as well. I'm pretty sure there were times in that Sunday night game against the Lakers where he was playing alongside Marc Gasol. And Boucher is an incredibly productive player. Even in 20 minutes, he can give you 25, 30 DraftKings points. So Chris Boucher is another value I like at this position. Definitely not a core play because he's not going to play big minutes, but he's so productive. And even in limited minutes, he can give you the upside at that price. So $3,400, Chris Boucher, a low-owned value I would definitely target today. But I think that's it for center, guys, and I think that's it for the video. These are my 5 plays today for DraftKings and Yahoo. These are just 5 players that stand out to me looking at this slate the night before. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. I do greatly appreciate you watching. If you made it all the way through the end of the video, thank you so much for sticking through the whole video. Make sure you drop a like before you get out of here. If you have not subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would click that subscribe button. As always, click the notification bell as well, so that way you get notified every time I upload. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at DFS by Noah. Always appreciate those of you that do stay in touch with me on Twitter. I'm very active over there. But I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Good luck tonight on this slate. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.